Here are 10 tips to improve your guard passing. Tip number 1, very obvious. Always be the one on top. Because if I start to pass this guard and I'm too feisty and Latif manages to sweep me, I'm not gonna be passing any guard. He's gonna be passing my guard. Tip number 2, always keep your weight over your partner. It's related to the previous one, but I always have to stay on top. If I keep my weight too much away from my partner, he can always start standing back up and have to wrestle him down again. And also, if I keep my weight behind, Latif starts to walk away from me and to chase him, and this opens the chances for him to sweep me. So what I mean is, I want to be connected to him and then put my weight over him. Now try to walk away, please, Latif. It's gonna be harder. And then when Latif pushes, I can actually use that to pass his guard. And this counts for every pass you want to do. Pressure passing, speed passing, you always want to keep your weight over your partner. Tip number 3, always keep your head in the center. Whenever my head passes Latif's center line, you just push my head away and use this to start getting back up. Or if I defend the back up, he can use the push when I recenter to re-pummel his guard. Tip number 4, always rotate your hip towards the side where the head is going. So if I'm here and Latif moves his head to that side, he can have a hook inside. If I rotate my right hip in, now I'm very light to either that side or over. However, if Latif puts his head inside here and I rotate my hip in, try to move me now, Latif, now it's gonna be way harder. And of course, when Latif switches his head, I have to rotate my other hip in, try to move me now, it's always gonna be harder. If Latif puts his head there and I make the switch, that's when I'm gonna get swept. Or load it up and then sweep me. Tip number 5, create opportunity to bridge the gap. The hardest part of any pass is always how to go from hip control to head control. So whenever Latif's head is near, I can easily go over and switch my hip around. If Latif's head would be far and I try to go now, he can just move his shoulders away and sweep me. Or if I stay in balance, he can use this to swivel his hip to the other side and start attacking me with an arm lock because I isolate my limb from my core. So instead what you do, when Latif's heads move away, I start to rotate my hip to the same side and I give pressure. And I put pressure to the center. So now this triggers, if he puts his head more away, this creates more pressure. And then he always reacts by bringing the head inside. And then on that moment is when I go over and do the guard pass. It's true for guard passing at any level. For example, if I have shin to shin, Latif moves his head away, I start to pivot backwards and put pressure so Latif's shoulders are on the floor. This usually results in him moving his hip to the other side. That's when I can step over, and this is the first layer of my guard pass. Or it also triggers people. Move your head away, please, Latif. And do back step. Put your leg on the floor, please. Hip escape. Same result. His head moves to the other side. That's when I pass. Then I wait. He moves his head back away again. That's when I can start passing his guards for free because he makes space. Tip number 6, always look for 45-degree angles. Whenever I want to control Latif, I'm looking for control from hip to shoulder, from shoulder to hip. So shin to shin, for example, I put pressure, very hard for him to move. If I'm more in the center, now is where Latif can pummel his legs inside or try to move me around. If I go for 45-degree angles and I keep my pressure to try to move now, it's way harder. Now don't make the mistake of leaving this angle first, because if I make the step, Latif can catch my leg and pummel his leg inside also. And now I'm in trouble. So instead, I stay here. This is related to the breaching the gap because I keep the control. Latif brings his head inside. Okay, now I'm in a perpendicular angle. Then when I make my switch, now I have 45-degree angle again. Latif will move his head away. Oh crap, back in the perpendicular angle, I step back, 45-degree angle. He moves his head over there. Okay, I stay in this angle, comes back inside, back to the 45-degree angle. He keeps inverting. And more inside, see? I look again for the 45-degree angle. Brings his head away and stay here. And this is true for actually for all your submissions and your guard passes as well. Tip 7, never leave the perpendicular angle first. If I'm perpendicular to Latif, we both are kind of in chaos because we are in the middle of two options. If I leave this position first, at the moment Latif can put his hook and I'm in a bad spot because he got control. Instead, if I leave here, let's try to do the same thing, Latif. You move your head away. See, that's when I move to the 45-degree angle and I have control again. So the first one to leave the perpendicular angle usually loses. Tip 8. Always have a fixed grip and one wildcard grip. For example, I'm in Della Riva, my right hand is my collar, is my fixed grip, which you can use if Latif wants to move away, he stay close. However, if I get a fixed grip on my other side, where Latif can reach it, then it's very easy for him to start lifting me up and I have no way to post. I find it very awkward when people control both of my sleeves, because now if Latif would sweep me with one hand, I can always post and move back. So this hand, where he's gonna grip, well, it can wait a little bit. For example, Latif's gonna grab me, so he can strip that grip, or he grabs me, now I can grip him and can use this to my advantage, or I can use it somewhere else where he cannot reach it, and then start to use this to remove hooks. So you can use a hand for a number of options, but never put it somewhere where he can reach it. If you see it like MMA, this would be my punching hand. You want to punch once and then get back, so you cannot control your hand. Tip number 9, always fight your knees over your toes. This does a number of things. First, it brings more of my weight on my opponent, push me away please. I'm much more heavier and stronger. On top of that, I can also rotate my knees. So for example, if Latif puts his head on this side, it allows me to right away rotate my hip to the correct side to fix my angle. And on top of that, a power tip, my shoulders go to one side, my knees to the other side. So Latif has no clue where I'm gonna pass. If he moves his head now this side, see I can start to move right away. He moves his head to the other side, see now my shoulders adjust and my legs also. So I'm always in the middle. If you see it like this, if we're playing football, for example, my knees and shoulders go to one side, it knows I'm gonna go there. And on the opposite side, the same thing. If I'm standing like this, I can switch. It doesn't have no clue what I'm doing. So if I'm here, I can make a fake, and you can react to it, move your head please, Latif, and then I go the other side. So knees over toes for stability and misdirection. Tip number 10, always fight for inside space. For example, I'm gonna do the Torienda pass, and Latif manages to get his feet inside my elbows. Here's where he can start to manipulate me around. So I always want to control the inside space if I can choose, with arms and legs. Now I can start to manipulate him. However, anytime your opponent does control the inside space, then I want to make sure to bring everything together. So I like to not grip the pants, for example, here bring my hands together and close my elbows. So try to move me around now, it's gonna be way harder. This is true for spider guard. Do the lasso please. He gets inside space with the lasso. I don't try to get it out, just close my elbow, fix my angle, and now I deal with it like any guard pass, just put pressure until he takes his hook out, or I can pass and breach the gap. Bonus, tip number 11, don't even try to pass. If you put too much focus on passing his guard, that's when you're gonna make mistakes, which leads to getting swept or getting submitted. Instead, I'm not even thinking about passing his guard. I'm more interested in him denying all the attacks. So for example, if Latif gets his feet on me, he can always start attacking me. So what I try to do is always be outside the feet. Whenever I'm outside the feet, loop soaks notwithstanding, it's going to be very hard for him to get most of the attacks going on. And then when I'm here, I'm just trying to be heavy, and when I put pressure, that's when he makes his mistakes. For example, bringing his head in, that I can use to bridge the gap. So see it more like a wrestling match. Goal number 1 is not to pass, goal number 1 is to deny attacks and stay on top. Tip 12. This one increased my game tremendously. Side control is not the goal of the pass. To begin with, perpendicular side control is a very bad control because Latif is in the middle of 4 escapes. For example, move your head out, hip escape, bring your knee in. That would be one option. Or get up on your elbow, try to run away, very good. Or maybe bridge me over. No, then switch sides, get your knee inside again. It's very hard position to control. So instead, don't make it about that. And to be honest, just ignore the pass altogether and try to go for the submission. Always look for 35-degree control. So I'll look always to control him from here in the center. So now I've weight over him and his knees are pointed away. Even better would be to step over both legs and try to get a leg drag. So once you have the leg drag, for example, now I have very good control over his legs, and all I need is upper body control. Although here it would not be considered a pass, this is a way better control than I would have in side control. And then the question is, why would I have a position where I can make him suffer forever and I can control him? Why would I ever want to go away? So for example here, my favorite thing is to just squash, put pressure, then make him bridge. When he bridges, I follow through and I get my arm triangle rotated out, and that's when I choke. Tip number 13, entanglements can work in your favor. So for example, if I'm fighting a wrestler and I stand too far away, you can always get up and move around. Or if it's an explosive guy who can move around fast, it can be hard for me as an older player as well. So in that sense, if you give him a leg, and for example, let's say I'm good in passing the Arriva, give him the entanglement, is something he can invest time in, and now the game will be more slowed down. My favorite entanglement, to be honest, is just to dive right away into the triangle. Because I'm very good in defending this, I call it the King's Gambit. And from here, because they lift their hip up very often to attack, I can use this to stack and then eventually get a pass.